Hello and welcome to Copper Bulletins, the warning podcast. We're going to chat about some of the what's been going on with the warning lately. And the great thing about these recently is there's actually been stuff going on, which makes it a lot easier rather than us having to drag back over stuff from like 18 months ago. I think the first thing to talk about in terms of news and stuff like that is to check in on Choke Watch.
Book watch, yes.
It's doing really well. It's hit 500,000 streams on YouTube. That's on the main, obviously the main music video. On 350,000 Spotify streams, pretty much as of today.
Which is a fairly impressive number.
But obviously, there's been a lot of promotional activity that's quietly started to creep up as well. We had another interview with Matt Pinfield at the record store in LA. The name I've forgotten.
In LA, yeah.
And that was really cool. I don't know if that was maybe a rush thing, like a short notice thing that they arranged because they realized they had a decent amount of interest and they could bump it along with that.
I know it seemed to materialize quite quickly, but whether it had been planned or not, or how long it had been planned for, I'm not entirely sure.
Like a short, a quickly arranged thing.
It was good to get another one.
Yeah. So Aaron got down there.
Yeah, Aaron got down there. I think Jose got down there.
He did, again. Yes. So yeah, because they were actually there in person this time, as opposed to the original, which was a short one. And there was also some interesting social activity because we saw them hanging around with Alessia Cara.
Yes, that's right.
Pau did get asked about that, and she was very, very sort of vague about what she could say. She just said it was awesome. So I don't know if that was just a case of getting their faces around LA and and with some more established acts just to get their faces out there, or whether there's maybe something more going on, some sort of maybe in terms of collaboration, songwriting. Who knows?
I dare say we'll find out in due course if there was anything more to it than just soon. Yeah. I think they've done another couple of promotional interviews in Spanish.
There's been a lot. Loads of little notifications pop on Instagram for live that they've done with various publications and accounts. I know I saw an interview piece. This wasn't a live one. This was a published one. Was it Sweetie High, who I'd never heard of before, but it looks like they're like a brand that do a lot of stuff with like young influencers, so like the TikTok crowd and stuff like that, which is obviously perfect for the demographic that they probably want to be aiming at.
Exactly, yeah. Perfect for that.
Speaking of LA, we got the announcement of a show, which is the first actual show that's been announced in, I don't know, 8 million years.
Yeah, that is the other big news is they have actually announced a show.
Troubadour in Los Angeles on 20th of January. Don't try and get tickets. It's sold out in about 3 hours.
Yeah, it just sold out like that.
And then shortly after that, which is kind of wasn't surprising given how quickly it sold out, another show got announced. And that sold out in slightly longer, but still fairly quickly.
I mean, it's incredible that they both sold out as quickly as they did.
I mean, I've seen a lot of clamour saying, "Oh, they should have booked somewhere bigger," which I kind of get, but at the same time, I think of it trying to introduce this new band to people who've never heard of them still. Yes. And you say, "Well, what's the buzz?" You say, "Well, they've just got 2 sold out shows at the Troubadour in LA, sold out in just a couple of hours." smaller venue, I think that sounds more exciting. That's a better story than saying, so, no, well, we sold out 8,000-seater venue. Or, even worse, we've almost sold out. I think the act of selling out a place is better.
I know it's one of these things that people have been debating on various platforms. Was it should they have gone for somewhere bigger? But yeah, I kind of agree
All
with what
about
you're saying that
the spin. And
saying
I
that you've
think
sold out 2 nights in
exactly.
you know relatively quick time. It's maybe not record time, but the fact that you have sold out 2 nights at a venue does sound
More
more
impressive.
impressive.
Having these smaller venues
It's-
initially, you can build more. It makes it seem like more of an exciting little thing. And
exactly.
also, they're still, as far as the label are concerned, and to a certain degree, they're an unknown quantity, and also this is uncharted territory for the band still. Going out as a headliner. They've
Yeah,
done some.
exactly.
It's very easy for us to say, well, they'd easily fill a 3,000-seater venue, 5,000-seater venue. You know what? They probably would. But
Yeah.
if you're the person behind that and organising that, and maybe taking a punt on it in terms of backing it, data. You want evidence that this is the
Yeah.
case. And there's
Yes,
no better
exactly.
evidence than selling out smaller venues previously to say we need a bigger place.
Yeah.
You know.
All right, they've sold out 2 nights at the Troubadour in however many hours. Okay, yeah, we can maybe take a punt on a bigger venue
Yeah,
this time.
you can build on it, and you don't go out too hard. So it's why
Yeah.
they had a little boat in Jaws. It's like, we could have got a bigger boat. They're
Yeah.
expensive. We'll take the little boat. We'll wait for the shark to eat the little boat, and then maybe we need a bigger boat. That tells us we need a bigger boat.
That tells us we need a bigger boat. Yeah, I mean, it's like look at Rush. I mean, Rush used to fill football stadiums, but yeah, they've been around for 30, 40 years.
I think for the
They
band
wouldn't
as well.
just immediately. They wouldn't just start immediately playing in stadiums.
No,
They started
and I
off
think,
playing smaller.
yeah, and I think for the band as well, especially it was being the headline act. They probably want to sort of gradually build up to bigger venues, bigger stage sets, bigger scope. They don't know, and they want to sort of you increment on your learning, so you learn how to handle and work the stage on the smaller venue. Hey, we've got this now. Let's scale it up slightly, and then you increment and you build on it. And I think that's probably
I mean,
the way they're going to go.
that's the thing. It's quite a big jump from being the opening act on a big stage
Yeah,
for a big band to actually you're the headline act. You are what people are coming to see.
yeah,
It's and it has its own challenges and
it does.
pressures. And like you say, it makes perfect
Yeah,
sense to
yeah.
start small and work your way up. It's
And I know a lot of the Warning
definitely the way
Army
to do it.
are very, very bullish about this, and they want arena tours. Realistically, the next step isn't an arena tour.
No.
It's an opening slot. The next step is basically theatres. So at the moment, we're talking like bars and clubs. Next step is headlining venues. So 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. That's the next step.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's the way to do it.
They'd want to miss out on that step, even if it was only one tour that they did of those size venues.
Yeah, it's just get the practice, get used to it. It's not something I've ever done, but I can imagine if you go from, a pub or a small club to then going up to a theatre, it's like,
Yeah.
ooh,
You don't want to overawe yourself. I
yeah.
think they would be. If you make the steps a
I
little bit
mean,
smaller and increment it, it's not going to be as daunting. Speaking of bigger venues have got the festival date as well.
That's right. Aye, they've got a festival as well. They're playing at.
Rockville. I know Rob Sorensen particularly excited about that one, as it's just on his doorstep, basically.
Arduous 35-minute
Yes.
drive for him.
And
Yeah,
quite
massive
quite
4-day
quite
festival.
nice as well. Them being on the same bill, the same day as Metallica.
Yeah. And yeah, we know that Metallica are fans of The Warning.
Yes. I don't know if they'll be on the same stage as Metallica because I haven't seen the layout, but even to be on the same bill of them is just a really nice sort of bookend of how they first got noticed with that Entertainment video.
Exactly, yeah. That's it. It's nice, and I mean, there's a lot of big names playing in that as well over the 4 days.
I saw Anthrax on the list, Lynyrd Skynyrd.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, I didn't look that closely because it's like it's Florida. I'm not going.
Yeah.
So I did obviously want to see who the Warning were.
I did have a look through, and yeah, there's quite a lot of big names, and also the fact that they're playing on the Sunday, which is like the final, which is generally the last day.
Yes, the big day, isn't it?
The big day, the smaller bands generally start off on the Thursday,
Yes.
the first day of it, and then you kind of work your way up the Thursday list, and then start up the Friday list, the Saturday list.
And actually, they're already pretty accomplished at festival slots.
Yes.
They've actually done quite a few. Another thing we need to talk about, going back to the social media thing, is Powell's had a little bit of a TikTok explosion in the last couple of weeks.
She certainly has. Pretty much doubled her fan base.
Yeah, she. So those of you who hadn't seen it, she did a little snippet of Rodrigo's "Brutal," did a little TikTok to that, drumming along to that. For you who don't know, which is probably a lot of the fan base because they're all old, but Olivia Rodrigo is pretty much the hottest act in pop at the moment.
Yes, she is pretty much. That's best way to describe her. And even the lady herself left a comment on Pow's TikTok.
Yeah, Olivia Rodrigo has proclaimed that Pow is the hottest person she's ever seen, which is high praise indeed.
It is.
That did insane numbers even before she took notice of it.
Yeah.
Because
I mean, it's now up at 746,000 likes on TikTok,
and about 2.3 million views, which is, I mean, it hit 1 million quite quickly. And this at 1 million, it was by far the most viewed TikTok Pow's done. But
it's incredible, and it can only be good for the band.
And exactly. It's added exposure. I mean, it's currently 2.3 million. Imagine if that 2.3 million all went in stream choke. That'd be amazing.
Exactly.
And she doubled her. Like you said, she's doubled her followers off the back of that one video.
And that's the thing. But okay, not everyone that likes Olivia Rodrigo is going to be like, oh yeah, we're going to like this Warning band, but there will be people. It's like, oh, Olivia has taken notice of this person or this band.
Yes, I will also take notice of them.
Of them, yeah. That it's
well, that's how. Yeah,
that's the way it works.
Yeah, that's how it works on socials. And there's nothing, absolutely no harm, and a lot of good to associations with people like Olivia Rodrigo, Alessia Cara.
Exactly.
It's all gradually building the network and increasing profile, but not. It feels quite organic. It doesn't feel like it's forced, which is what's really nice.
Exactly. Yeah. It doesn't feel like it's all fake and been engineered by the record label. It's all just natural, organic.
I think it's just nice for Pow on a personal level because that was on her personal TikTok. It wasn't on the band's TikTok. It was, it's her own little
That's right.
personal.
Yes, it was her personal TikTok. So
Yeah, it's interesting the way things work nowadays. The different ways that people will find your music. It's not like it used to be.
that's it. And I
Is
mean,
the biggest place at the moment.
You and I have talked about this before. It's like, when we were kids,
Yeah.
we didn't have, all this stuff didn't exist.
Yeah, it's very different. And certainly the way people discover music now is so different to how it used to be. There's so many
Yeah,
more ways people come across it, and they come across it in different contexts. So it's quite. I find that fascinating the way, especially Gen Z, because obviously that's very much their platform. The way they music in terms of like 9-second snippets on TikTok and stuff like that. I just find that incredible.
yeah. That's what it's all about. It's, like, yeah, we used to listen to whole songs on the radio, or you'd go out to your local record store, or one time we had like John Menzies and stuff selling records. You just go up there on a Saturday and have a little look through and see if there's anything that took your fancy, kind of thing. That's how you did it.
One thing I find really
Uh,
interesting is that certainly maybe the younger generation, so the band's generation, they're kind of twigging on that they've kind of missed out on that, which is why we're seeing such a resurgence in vinyl sales at the moment.
yeah, and I think it's like everything, you know, not just in music but in life in general. Things do go full circle.
They do, yeah. Things come back into
Fads
fashion.
and trends come in, they fall out of fashion, and then, you know 10, 20, 30, 40 years later, they come back into fashion, as
Because
a new generation
yeah,
discovers something,
I think as
then it
well
suddenly.
for Gen Z just sounds wrong. For Gen Z, I think they're kind of waking up to the fact, it's like, hang on a minute, I don't own anything. My music comes via streaming, my movies come by streaming. I don't own these things. I'd like to own them. Which is, and that's something that we took for granted.
Yeah, other people are
And it's
like, no, I've only got it in this little device. I actually want something tangible that I can hold.
no, absolutely, and yeah, and it does make a difference. It was interesting because obviously, the warning, the fan base can be a little bit impatient, as we all, we want obviously what's best for the band. We want them to be successful, and sometimes it can feel like the wheels move a little slowly. But I did see an interesting Facebook post from David Bendeth the other. Why did I say it like that? David Bendeth the other day, and he was talking about the sort of the promotional cycle a little bit, and how it sort of, you know, it's a gradual thing, and it was really interesting to hear it from his point of view.
And that's the other thing as well, is you don't want, there to be just this sudden dump of everything happens in 10 seconds,
No,
and then it's over, kind of thing. Then it's like, then it'll be on to the next thing. Um,
it's all. I think it's all very calculated. This kind of thing.
yes,
But certainly, I mean,
you
that
know,
we talked about it before. There's been a real flurry of media activity. So a lot of it on Instagram, some of it on, like, obviously online media as well in terms of websites.
well,
But
yeah,
they've been really hitting the promotional grind in the past couple of weeks.
yeah, they definitely have,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah. It's easy
it's
for
a
us to sort of forget because obviously we've been so invested in this for so long as fans,
long,
and,
yes,
and as as fairly hardcore fans. But obviously,
yes.
a lot of people out there where the band are a completely unknown quantity. I see it on like YouTube and TikTok comments, and you'll see a comment saying, they're from Monterey. I'm from Monterey, and I hadn't heard of them. And it's like, well,
Yeah,
okay, if
I mean,
people in their hometown are of them, obviously you go beyond that to different countries. Even it's like, yeah, it's got to be, you know, you've got to introduce them in the right way. You can't just
I
assume
think
people
is
don't know who they
I, thi-
are.
I think as well that with a fan base, whether it be the Warner or anyone else, of course, you know, we all know each other and we're all very familiar with
We're
who
a
they are.
bit of an
But
echo chamber.
you know, you've got to sort of, you can't see the forest for the trees. It's like just
No.
because we all know all this information about them and stuff, it doesn't mean people outside of
No.
the fan base know about them.
And
And
I think an important thing as well in terms of when you're talking about, I don't know, say radio stations, media outlets, whatever, they don't want all the information. I know, it's there's fans out there who are absolutely encyclopedic about bands, but
yes,
a lot of the time when if you're trying to, I don't know, get space on a radio show or get column inches on a website or in a magazine, sometimes they haven't got time to read a full biography. You need to do like a 10-second elevator pitch, and that's how you get get them in there, and you've got to be
get
able
them
to
in
do
there.
that for the
Yes,
band.
I mean that's possibly why some reactors get put off from reacting to the warning because you know, when you've got somebody in your comments with encyclopedic knowledge, it can be
I think it can.
slightly.
I absolutely understand where that comes from, and I love the enthusiasm. But at the same time, I
Yeah, I mean,
think it
I
can be
do
a bit
as well, but
overwhelming for some
whelming,
people.
yes, and they're just kind of like, well,
Yeah,
those fans seem a little bit crazy. We'll
it's
just
like,
leave this.
yeah, and you've got to be. I
Yes,
think you've got to be smart about that kind of thing and mindful of it.
I know, it's, and just because we're as enthusiastic as we are, it doesn't mean that
Everyone's going to be
everybody,
no, and that's fine. You've got to be okay with that. You've
you
got to be
know,
prepared for someone to say,
yeah.
"I don't really like them," and that's okay.
Sometimes you've just got to remind the fans,
Yeah,
listen,
yeah,
not everyone's going to like them.
yeah.
Just don't.
They're big girls now. They've been around for a while. They don't need. They don't. My personal opinion. They don't need defending.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, promoting them, absolutely, telling people that they're great. But if someone doesn't like them, you don't then have to go back out to bat for them. It's not necessarily, they don't need it.
No, they don't need it. Yeah.
This podcast is going to look really weird for anyone as well, because we're doing a little two-parter kind of thing, but we're going to do it in the same one, aren't we? Be around for the next bit. So Derek might
Yeah.
disappear. But it's been a while since we've had any fans on. I think Rob was the last one.
Rob
Got
was the last one we had on. Yeah.
yeah, but we've got Isaiah coming back, and he's bringing pretty much his entire family along for a chat. Yeah, I'm intrigued to get
Yeah.
uh,
Exactly. Yes.
see what Isaiah's sisters have to say about that in terms of what resonates with them and how they
I
relate
mean,
to us as a band. Oh, Isaiah, you're back, and you brought your siblings with you. You're like
I have.
you're like the unofficial second family of the Warning fandom.
That's right. We're even the our Via Real family in the role in the
Yeah, you're like
Discord server.
the unofficial one.
Yeah.
So obviously you've been on before, Audrey and Britta. You haven't. I wanted to I'm quite keen on getting you guys on because there's a lot of old people in the fan base in general, Isaiah is probably one of the youngest ones, but I think it's really interesting to sort of hear more from the perspective of people who are very much the band's peers, same age group. Obviously, your girls as well, so you can probably relate to them a lot more closely than a bunch of old guys, and probably more so than Isaiah as well. But one thing I wanted to ask was, because obviously I know Isaiah was the first one to discover the band. So how long was it of him pestering you before you said, okay, we'll listen to them? Did you resist at first? You're like, God, just leave us alone. Stop going on about it.
Definitely resisted. I mean, I resisted at least, I think.
Well, sometimes with siblings, you just deliberately just don't do what they're asking because just to
Oh yeah, I mean, I think the first song he introduced us to was "Survive," and I definitely didn't dislike the song at first, but there was definitely a part of me that was just like, okay, like I don't need to be like bothered with this.
No.
Yeah.
I was a little over enthusiastic, and I think Pau has said
Really?
that she's even had the same issue trying to Danny and Ollie to new music. Is she's a little overzealous with it, because when I brought it to them, I was like, oh my gosh, you guys need to check out this band, like it's super cool, whatever. And
I can't imagine that for a second. Chill the dog out. What's going on?
Honey!
Are you having mail delivered or something?
I have no idea. If someone's walking by, then she'll bark.
There's a ghost. It's probably a ghost. It's always ghosts.
Exactly.
Right. Anyway, yeah. So when I first discovered the band, I was really excited to show them. So I was like, "Hey, you guys need to check out this band. They're super cool." And they kind of blew me off a bit at first, and that made me kind of upset. Because I'm like, "Why don't you want to check them out?
Yeah,
Like they're really cool."
It just takes some time to adjust to it, and then you start loving it like just as much.
That's because you are the big brother, so automatically they're just gonna like not want to do anything that you ask and just make your life difficult. That's how it works. I actually remember. I think it probably wasn't that long after I discovered the band was when they did the Instagram Live. And you were on. You're like, oh my, can I get my sister on? She really, really wants to talk to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I kind of remember how that started out. So I was watching the live, and Danny said she was going to invite people on screen or whatever. So Audrey was sitting right next to me when I was doing it, and I was like, oh yeah, like I requested, but like the chances of getting on, like there's like hundreds of people watching, so it's probably not going to happen or whatever. And about 10 seconds after I told her that, that's when she sent the request, like saying for me to appear on screen, and we were like, whoa, what? I think most of it was because it was actually on the fan account I have on Instagram, and I guess she didn't know.
No, she didn't know it was you, did she?
She wanted to see.
Yeah, maybe just wanted to find out who was running it. It was like a little sting operation. So Audrey, were you overwhelmed by that, or did you play it cool? Because I don't quite remember.
Yeah, I was kind of, at first I was like surprised that we would get on with her, because Isaiah was like, yeah, it's probably, like, I don't know if it's going to happen because there's so many people. But I was like, Jesus is like actually happening. Like, we're actually going to go on with her and be able to talk with her.
Well, it's like you can't really prepare for it either, because you don't know if she's going to let you join. And all of a sudden you are, and you're like, oh, what do I do?
Like strange noises.
Yeah.
Lose the ability to speak.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I even remember, like, you had a question you wanted to ask her or whatever, and I was like, oh yeah, you should ask her that if like we for some reason get on. And then we do get on, and then you're like, and you can probably find the clip of it, but like, because I know someone uploaded it on YouTube, but you were like, I was like, oh, didn't you want to ask a question or something? And you were just like,
your mind just goes blank.
Yeah,
your mind went blank.
Yeah, and Danny was like,
oh yeah, and then she was like
waiting.
Yeah, and I was
it's
like,
difficult, isn't it? Once you're on the spot.
I wanted to know.
Yeah.
I forget what the question was, but I was like, no, you wanted to know this or
and
whatever.
I was like, no.
Never said that. So obviously, Isaiah, you have been to a couple of gigs yourself, haven't you?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that you've got another one coming up, and I am aware of a little bit of controversy here because somebody's not going.
Well, yeah. So
playing
Britta and I
favorites.
both-
Is that what it is?
Well,
playing favorites.
Britta not so much playing favorites as she's a little on the young side or whatever. Yeah, Britta and I have tickets to the 2 Troubadour shows in LA next January, so super excited about that. Hopefully, we're able to go to those. Obviously, Audrey's not old enough to just go traveling. Yeah, traveling across the country without her parents.
No, I kind of get that. And
like you
and
never traveled alone.
Well, you're traveling with me, so you're not traveling alone. But I mean, yeah.
And at the moment, it works out quite well because there's the 20th and the 22nd. Gives you a day to go to Disney in between.
Right. Yeah, we were trying to kind of figure out what we should do the day in between. So yeah, because we've been to Disney World lots of times, but we've never been to Disneyland. So it'd be cool to check out California's version of it, the original version, as people would say.
Yeah, you can sort of do a little compare, see how what's the same and stuff like that. Like Audrey and Britta as the female representation here. In terms of obviously the band, what's it like to have a band that's sort of around your age that you can really relate to and follow?
They like started out playing Rock Band and stuff, which is cool. Like I played that when I was younger and stuff, so that was like, cool.
Obviously, we've seen the 3 of you.
They even got into just playing music.
Yeah, we've seen the 3 of you on the cover videos on Rock Band.
Yeah, that's right. The Survive cover we did. We decided, since Survive is actually on the game Rock Band 4, that since we're not capable of playing actual guitar, drums, or bass, we may as well like throw the game into it.
Yeah.
Just to kind of spice things up a little bit.
And actually, that was a nice little throwback to how the band started as well. So it was almost like a little Easter egg to have in that.
Yeah.
Are they are you all wearing Warning shirts? I can't tell. From
yeah,
you all got the merch all merched up.
The shirt that she's wearing is actually a shirt that I bought at the Mercury Lounge show in New York City. And I just gave it to her because at that point I already had other shirts that I had bought online. So I'm wearing this like Chapter 1 shirt that was actually a Patreon reward through the box set or whatever. And I haven't seen this shirt available anywhere else, so I think it's a Patreon exclusive. And then
I'm wearing the Queen of the Mercury.
Yeah, Audrey's wearing the Crown website.
Yeah.
I thought I recognized the top of that one because see that. Going back obviously to just more about the band and music, because I don't think if I ask this I don't remember. So I'll start with you, Isaiah. What's the song of the Warnings that you relate to the most?
That's kind of a tough question, but I guess
there are a lot of bad choices here, by the way. There's a lot of bad answers because they would suggest you were a murderer.
I think the one that just kind of pops into my mind for the most part immediately, I think just has to be Survive, because it's the one that made me fall in love with the band in the first place. I mean, all their songs are great, but I think Survive is kind of the one that I identify with the most, just because that's how I became a fan.
Yeah, I think certainly for the fans who've been around for a while, that's the one that, because it had had so many views, that video, so that was the one that tended to crop up in people's recommendations.
Yeah.
So Britta, how about you? Go down the ages.
That's a really tough question. I guess one that I can kind of relate to maybe, and then one that I also just really love is Black Holes. When I first started to like actively listen to the band, that was one of the ones that I was like listening to on repeat, and I just love that song a lot.
Yeah.
It's the kind of song you can just sit in a darkened room and just like listen to on repeat.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And how about you, Audrey? Same answer, or you got another one?
I really like Queen of the Murder Scene. Well,
okay, that's disturbing.
Well, basically, I mean, because of the shirt, it's kind of
Yeah.
like cool. Cause like, yeah, I got the shirt from the song, whenever, and I do really like the song because it's kind of more like a little more like rock, kind
Yeah.
of like than the. Yeah, it's really. I just really like the song.
Heavy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
heavy.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. It's probably the heaviest song on
Yeah.
Queen of the Murder Scene, and the one that's probably sounds closest to what you'd say more of a metal song as opposed to a rock song.
It's probably their most metal song
Yeah.
to date. Because Choke is also really heavy, but it's not quite as heavy as Queen of the Murder Scene, I don't think.
Yeah.
I think part of it with Queen of the Murder Scene is, in a way, it's less melodic than a lot of their other stuff. Like the rhythm part's quite angular, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily pleasant to listen to in some ways. It's a bit more unsettling.
Yeah.
And I think that's
Especially
part of it.
the chorusu part,
Yes.
like
Yeah.
chorus, yeah.
So no plans to go to the Rockville Festival then?
Well,
Or
we're
maybe.
not throwing that.
No.
Yeah, that's still in the ring. I think a lot of it depends on what other shows that they announce between now. So depends on, obviously, if the tickets are still available as we get closer. I don't know how quickly they're going to sell out.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're not going to sell out as quickly as Troubadour did, but
No.
I mean, yeah. But I wouldn't say we're not going to Rockville or we are going to Rockville. It's just kind of
It's not off the cards
at the moment, because we would prefer to go to a concert that the Warning are headlining, and obviously they're not going to be headlining. I think it'd be super, super cool to see them in Rockville, but given the price of the tickets plus you know, all that kind of stuff, I up in the air right now. But it'd be really cool to go. I'm not against going.
But as I say, obviously with the Troubadour shows as well, I know you were concerned that as time went on and their profile rises, that there might not be too many opportunities to see them in a smaller venue.
Right, yeah, even though traveling across the country, obviously it requires some expenses. It's like, okay, but at the same time, after what has just gone through like this past year, it's like, we got to start taking chances.
Yeah, it's like definitely. I think that's been the way a lot of people are feeling at the moment. It's like you say, you know what?
Yeah,
it's not quite YOLO, but it's like, if not now, then when?
Yeah, exactly.
I suppose the other thing we talked about it with Derek as well, is Powell's little runaway viral TikTok success. Have you been watching that closely? Because I feel certainly for Audrey and Britta, TikTok's very much that's their ballpark. That's Gen Z's platform. That
it's actually not. My brother Calvin, he's more into the TikTok thing than any of the rest of it, but not necessarily like the Warning TikTok, just kind of
the
TikTok,
all the weird stuff that's on there.
yeah. But I have followed it a little bit, and I mean, Pal's kind of blowing up on there, yeah.
Also getting the shout out from Olivia Rodrigo as well.
Yeah,
that was amazing.
Yeah, that was cool.
And again, I'm vaguely aware of who she is. I imagine I understand she's quite a big deal.
Apparently, that's what I've heard.
Yeah.
Wasn't she a former Disney kid?
I think so.
She's in
something like that.
Make of High School Musical, that show. Yeah.
I would explain that's why that's her background.
Yeah.
I actually think, because obviously I've heard a couple of the songs she's got, because we did on the server, we did her album on AVA, album versus album, and the fact that she's got a few rocky tracks on her album, and given how big it is at the moment, that kind of bodes well for potential success for bands like The Warning, because it is a bit of a rock resurgence, because it has been a bit quiet in the last couple of years, maybe.
Yeah, and I think people that like the original song will kind of stumble upon the rock version,
Exactly.
and people who aren't into rock as a genre by default maybe hear that and they're like, oh, well, I like the original song, and actually this sounds pretty cool, like rockified, and then that kind of gets the ball rolling in them looking at more rock music in general, and then maybe they learn to like it.
Mhm.
I mean, as obviously, as young, being younger guys, all of you, even you, Isaiah, you're not that old,
Yeah. Thanks.
In terms of, do you feel for like in sort of younger circles that rock music is having a bit of a comeback in general? It's like becoming cool again. I don't know if it ever stopped being cool. I mean, but it feels like it goes in waves a little bit.
Yeah, I think in general, I will actually say that I do think video games like Guitar Hero and Rock Band have actually done great wonders for rock as a genre, because you had kind of like the younger generation that would play the game, even if they didn't necessarily like rock as a genre before they started playing it. I can guarantee you they loved rock as a genre after playing it. Because I mean, there were so many rock songs that I learned through that game that I probably wouldn't have ever known or liked if I hadn't discovered them through the game.
Yeah, like when I hear some of those songs that I've played on Rock Band on the radio, I'm like, oh, that's from Rock Band. Like, that's where I know it from, and that's where I came to like it. So
I always thought that was really cool as things like that, just different ways as time moves on that people can discover music. Because
there are even some songs that made a comeback like by being put in a movie or something, and then everyone hears the song and they're like, oh, that, like all the younger people that hear the song will be like, oh, that's from that movie or whatever, and all the older people will be like, well, actually I knew the song before. But
outside of The Warning, what other bands do you kind of listen to? Rock influences in terms of music?
Well, definitely we listened to a lot of rock. Our dad made sure to play like bands like U2 and Pearl Jam and stuff. We always listened to them growing up. I also really like the Foo Fighters.
Yeah.
I know rock bands that we've heard a lot, but I've heard a lot. Not all of them are necessarily considered like rock or hard rock, but even like softer rock, like I've heard, like you said, U2, Pearl Jam, REM, Echo and the Bunnymen, the Foo Fighters, and like the Beatles.
I think just traditionally, from a cultural point of view, I think the US has been much better in terms of keeping rock music in rotation. Because there's normally a local, in most states or cities, there'll be a rock station, for example. There's not been as much of that in the UK.
Yeah, I know in our area at least there are 3 rock stations, 2 that only play like old, like classic rock. They don't play any modern stuff. It's all like old stuff. But then there is a 3rd channel that actually does try to play like modern rock or alternative rock or anything like that. But obviously I haven't been lucky enough to hear Choke on any of those yet. But I have to find myself to tune into them a little bit more in case something does get played, especially the modern rock one. Maybe I'll be lucky enough to hear it on there one day, but it's kind of tough because like I keep defaulting into if I want to hear The Warning, I'm just gonna have to go onto my iPhone and play it that way, or the CDs.
Well, I'd say a lot of people could they'd pop on the radio once in their vehicle. Obviously, Isaiah, I know that's not really an option for you in the commercial vehicle that you operate. You can't really be sat there listening to the radio.
Yeah.
You've got plenty to be getting on with whilst you're up there. And I think if we go on to the older stuff, because sometimes it gets a bit overlooked. Have you got a favourite track from 21st Century Blood? Other than Survive, which we already had.
Other than Survive, I was going to say, because like I already kind of said that Survive was most identified with, but
I would say like Unmendable. I really like that one a lot. The energy is very good.
Yeah. I suppose as well, but for a lot of people, it kind of goes hand in hand with Survive from the TED Talk as well. Because if you watch that whole video, obviously that's what they opened with, wasn't it? And it's like, and you realise what you were. I do wonder what that crowd in there thought when that started. Because
I gotta imagine. I assume most of the people that went there had never heard of them before.
No, that's what I'm assuming. I'm assuming they have no idea what's going to happen.
They're like, hey, I don't know what to expect here. Like
And all
three
of a sudden
little
it's like,
girls
whoa.
play music, all of a sudden,
Yeah.
Pal's like slamming the crap out of her drum kit, and I can't imagine what that must have been like.
Yeah.
Whether there were jaws dropped or something.
I remember when they did because they reacted to it, didn't they? And one of Pal's first comments is, "Why am I moving my arms so much?" Because she was really enthusiastic with just really big swings on Unmendable, especially. But it's really interesting to see, I think, how that's evolved, and especially when you look at her in the choke video, she seems to have she looks really efficient now in terms of because they always say with musical instruments, especially more physical ones like that, it's all about economy of motion and sort of don't waste any energy. And she seems to have really nailed that now, and she just looks effortless.
Perfected the technique, and yes, you can still get that full sound on the drums, and it sounds just as loud as it was before when she was beating the crap out. But now she's got it more under control. The fact that she's not tiring herself out more than she should be.
Yeah, but and of course, if she wants to be a bit more theatrical, she's still got the option to go that way. So I really enjoyed seeing the choke video, because when you see the progression that they've made and you looked at them in shows, like, I know it sounds daft, but it's like, wow, they look like a full-on proper band now, like a proper grown-up band.
Yeah, I remember the first time I had Audrey listen to Choke through the Kickstarter link that they. The first time she listened to it, I think you said you had like chills or something like that.
Yeah,
You said like you loved it like instantly.
Yeah, I loved it instantly the first time I listened to it. It was like, it was amazing. And I was like, wow, this is really good.
Yeah, it's definitely that type of song that you just love it instantly.
It definitely, I think the first thing I picked up on, which I'm guessing you will have done, it has a much bigger sound than we're used to hearing from them.
Yeah. I think a lot of with not only Danny Powell and Ali getting better at their craft, but it also has to do with talents like David Bendith. All the people there at the studio and through Lava that helped them mix it into
Big Papa B has played a big part in that, I think.
Yeah.
But and again, you hear it's a fairly common thing in production, but you can I love at the beginning where you've got the guitars pan left and right.
Yeah.
Because the stereo panning like that, if you listen to stuff from the 70s, they were all over that. They loved having stuff like on one side of the mix. And I think gradually through like the 90s and 2000s, it's something that people stopped doing as much, or they were more subtle about it. But I quite like it when you've got this really extreme pan. It's like one guitar's over there and then one's over there. It can be
it's the song.
I know another really popular fad that was, I think, especially with 80s music, that's when like the fade out became popular, where they were just at the end of like every song, it would just slowly fade away, whatever. Whereas nowadays they've kind of stopped doing that so much with like songs. A lot of the songs just kind of end on like a note, which is more adapt to performing it live, I would say, rather than just having a fade out.
Yeah, no, there was a lot, especially for, like you said, for a lot of the rock bands, like not so much metal, but like the soft rock bands. So bands like, I guess, thinking like bands like Bon Jovi and stuff like that. That kind of stuff. Can't figure out how to end this song. We'll just fade it out.
I can't how to end it, so I'll just have it fade out.
I mean, if talking about endings, I think there's not two that really obviously stand out for the warning in terms of ending. Obviously, the Survive ending and the Dull Knives ending. They're both. That's how you finish a song.
Unmendable also has a really great
ending. Yes. Actually, yes. I really like the drum outros on that.
Mm-hmm. Choke has a really great ending too. The fact that like it has like almost kind of like a stinger on the end, like
Yes.
it ends and comes back in. And
it's like a post-credit scene.
Yeah,
It's like a Marvel
exactly.
movie.
Yeah.
I like the fact that in the video that at the end Danny just pieces out and she's gone. It's like waltzes off.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah.
And I like another thing actually. If we speaking of show, I like the way that in the last measure, the riff changes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's like it sounds a bit more urgent. It's like, okay, we're done now.
Yeah.
I know you play. Do any of you actually play the guitar at all? Or have you been inspired to try by the warning?
Inspired to think about trying. I
Yeah.
haven't started yet, but definitely it's an interest.
I know Isaiah's been eyeing up the bass.
A lot of it just has to do with the fact that Ollie's going to have an actual
Yeah,
signature model
exactly.
that we can buy. So, what I've heard, it's not actually going to be too expensive as far as
No.
bases go. So I'll buy that and then probably try to learn it if I can.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought it would be particularly expensive. It's not going to be entry level cheap, but
Yeah.
you don't you don't if you've got a 16-year-old bassist, then you're assuming that, well, if she has a signature model, a lot of the potential buyers will be around her age.
Right.
So you've got to keep
Because
it.
people don't.
You don't want to price them out of the market. You want to.
Yeah.
What was your feel on the color change on that? Because remember, we saw the original prototypes in the photo shoot, which was gold,
Mhm.
but apparently it's going to be more towards the color of her custom base.
I personally like that better, actually.
Yeah.
Because I like her custom base and the way that her signature model looks. It looks really, really cool.
Yeah, I like that because I like the idea. It's almost like sort of the junior model of the big one she's got, and also with Danny playing the PRS a lot at the moment, you've kind of got sort of the red kind of thing going on either side. So that appeals to my sense of aesthetics. It's like nicely balanced.
Also, I will say that the flame paint job, I guess, is a little more gender neutral than the golden sparkly one.
Yeah.
Not that the golden sparkly one is like very girly or whatever. Like I wouldn't have a problem playing it, but like I think the flame probably fits a wider market. I want to say.
So yeah, I think to rock a gold bass, you have to have a certain kind of flamboyance about you that not everyone's got. The like you say, the red is a little bit more subtle, a little bit more understated, and a little less. Hey, look at me, because sometimes you don't want people to look at you.
Yeah. Especially if I'm not that good at playing it yet.
Yeah.
In terms of other music, obviously Pow has been having her listening parties on Discord. Have you discovered anything new that you've really gotten into through those listening parties? Or is it just so much going on that it all passes you by?
Honestly, like when I'm in those listening parties, like it's so chaotic. Most of the time, I'm just trying to keep up with what's going on. Next channel that I'm just trying to and it's just all memes and gifs.
That's true. Yes.
Like trying to like keep up with what's going on in there. I'm listening to the music that's being played, but I feel like a lot of times my mind is more on what's going on in the comments. But
yeah, I think
pretty interesting. But I mean, I wouldn't say I've necessarily become a fan of anything else that's on there.
I do feel that the Pow spamming that chat with gifs of herself is kind of like it's just like the ultimate power move.
Yeah. Yeah, she seems to enjoy all the gifs and emotes that we've made.
Yeah.
That must be a weird thing to be dealing with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of those, I guess you if you're in that situation, you just have to embrace it. Otherwise, like you say, it just get a bit weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't imagine what it would be like to sort of be a meme, for example.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, it's like
It must be such a weird feeling.
yeah.
I mean, and yeah, I know on the Discord servers there's the odd little inside joke, but there's nothing that's
Yeah,
there's
like-
nothing that's going to be going viral.
I'm
Like
just
a
excited to go
concert.
to a concert finally.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been such a weird time with there being no concerts at all.
Yeah.
And it's funny because Isaiah got us tickets Christmas of 2019
For the
for
tour.
yeah, in April, and then when that got postponed, like I'd been preparing like all that time, like listening to their music like religiously, like learning lyrics and stuff, getting ready, so pumped for the concert, and then it got postponed, and I was like, oh no, like that's and then it got canceled, and it's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that it was such a weird time just when all that was going on. Because I guess it just reflected the general way things were going in terms of things getting cancelled and things getting pushed back. But yeah, it was weird to get your head around the fact that hang on, there's not going to be. It's not the warnings tours cancelled, but there's not going to be any concerts for like 18 months. And then, of course, we didn't know that then. We thought it'd be. I remember when it all started, and like, oh, it'll blow over in 6 months when we move back to normal.
Yeah, there was so much uncertainty behind it too, of like how bad it was going to be and how long it was going to be. That was really uncertain. And I remember coming to a realization at some point. I was like, wait a minute. Not only is there no live music shows, but people aren't making new music. People aren't making new TV shows. So eventually we're going to hit a point where every new thing has finished airing.
Yes.
Nothing but repeats.
Yeah.
Did you find that the anticipation for the new album and the information that we were getting from the band when they went into recording and stuff like that, did that help you sort of as in giving you sort of a marker in terms of, well, okay, stuff's happening, this is something to look forward to when all this is over?
Yeah, I know once I learned that they had gone into recording the third album, I was like, okay, well now at least we're actually getting somewhere. If they can't play live shows yet, at least we're getting to the point where at least we'll be able to hear new music soon.
Not that word. Don't use that word.
Yeah, so I mean, when they said that this was their best album yet, I was like, okay, well those are tall words.
Setting the bar high.
Yeah, bar high compared to Queen of the Murder Scene and 21st Century Blood and Narcissista as well. But after just hearing Choke, like, yeah, I can pretty much agree with them on that. And then they said that Choke isn't even their best song. So I'm like,
oh my god,
excuse me.
Yeah, it's like, what?
Yeah, and my first thought is like, why would you not put your best song out as a single? But then the more I thought about it, it's like, okay, no, maybe this is just the one that feels maybe the most radio friendly. Which might not necessarily mean it's the most complicated or the most musically interesting. Yeah,
because they stopped short of calling Choke filler.
Yeah.
They didn't call it filler, but they basically did. They were like, yeah, this isn't even like the best song, guys.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Just wait.
And they're not ones to sort of exaggerate about stuff like that as well. If they say that's what they think, it's not going to be just hyperbole. They genuinely believe that.
Right.
I think just in terms of getting through the last year or so as well. I think even little things like the Danny Powell days have helped. Just as a reminder that time is passing for those periods of time where like every day felt the same.
Yeah, exactly. Like at least every time it got to like the weekend and we had Danny Pound Day, it's like, okay, another week has gone by. Okay.
Yeah.
Like
it wouldn't surprise me if actually it gave them something to do to a certain degree as well. Because
Yeah.
And now actually they're so busy that it's kind of difficult for them to do on those days other than, just kind of like, hey.
They
which it's totally understandable, them. It's actually nice just that they're able to just pop in and say hi.
Yeah. And they do seem to have been incredibly busy at the moment.
Yeah.
But obviously they had the LA trip, and then once they've come back, seemingly non-stop interviews, and also we've also seen as well now merch is going out.
Yep.
Mhm.
Checking my email all the time.
What-
for that.
What are you waiting on at the moment? Is it still the socks?
Yeah, the socks, the 3 T-shirts
Yeah.
I ordered.
They'll be there soon, I'm sure.
Yep.
Yeah, and one thing I really like about the fan base in general is that for the most part, people are well aware of how much all this stuff is just done by the band and pretty much their parents and and Rudy to a certain extent. But probably actually he might be posting some stuff, I don't know, but they're very hands on with that kind of stuff, and you've only got a limited amount of resources. But I know the fans generally are really good about that, but being understanding and being patient and knowing that it will get sorted.
Yeah, I know that was one of the things that surprised me when I was, just getting to know the band, and I don't know how you guys felt about that, but like when I realized that when I ordered stuff from them, it was literally I didn't know why I thought this, but I thought it would be one of those things where it'd be one of those mass-produced things where it'd be
Yeah.
oh yeah, or something and it's sitting in a warehouse somewhere.
No, and I understand that.
Out or whatever, but it's no, it's a made to order thing. You order an autographed CD, they're gonna go to wherever they store those things in their house, grab a CD, open it, all 3 sign it, put it in a box, and then when they get the opportunity, actually go to the post, ship it to you.
One thing that
what?
with some of the Patreon mods, you get a poster. And I remember, I've seen the odd grumble about that. It's it's creased because it's been folded. I wish it was in a tube. And I'm like, yeah, but that creasing in there, that is your proof that a member of the band has folded this.
Yeah.
So it's everyone's going to be different. They'll all be folded slightly differently. This is your unique poster with unique creases on it. You should appreciate them. Going on, guys. I think we've pretty much covered everything we needed to. Have you enjoyed yourself, or did you just not?
Yeah, thanks for having.
Yeah, thank you.
Like I say, I think it's important in these kind of things to have fans from all ages on, especially because especially of younger fans, because I think they're what's going to really sort of drive the band forward. Let's face it. And I would have been absolutely stoked when I was a teenager to have a band that was around my age. I thought I can follow this band for my entire life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really exciting, as opposed to a lot of the time you'll discover a band when you're a kid, and they're already the mid-20s, 30s. So you can enjoy the music, but you're not going to relate to them as people in quite the same way.
Yeah. And not only to have a band that's around your age, but to have a band around your age that cares about their fans as much as this band does.
Yes, absolutely. And I think a lot of it is partly down to the times that we're in with social media and stuff like that, which makes it easier for bands to do that if they want to. But again, they still have to want to do it. They still have to be prepared to put the effort in.
It's a lot of.
We're always really, we're always really appreciative of the fact that the band are prepared and to put all that kind of effort in just for the sake of the fans. Makes us all feel special.
Yep.
But yeah, so like I say, once again, thanks so much for coming on. It's been really cool to have a chat.
Thanks for.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
And to everyone else who's been listening, go follow Isaiah's fan account.
Yep.
Because he needs the views. And we'll see you on the next one. Say goodbye, Hagoods.
Bye-bye.
Bye.